There was no control over that life experience, over that life event. None. None. It was an unknown. It was unknown. You think we would figure this out, right? When life happens this way, we might notice that we don't have control over those events, over life events. And at the same time, it's humbling and freeing, really. Because if we can learn to accept that that's the truth, we can be more at ease. You don't have So I was thinking about what I was going to start off 2020-2020 talking about. And usually, by now, I have the first quarter all planned out. January, February, March, I have some book picked out. I've got all the soul card quotes to Maggie. She's got them all laid out. We have them here ready for you. Didn't happen today. Mary found that one in the bottom of the bin and said, "Can we use this one?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's a good idea because we don't have any other ones ready." So I was thinking about that, and I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I thought, well, maybe a book. I don't know. And I looked around my office and looking on my shelves, and nothing jumped out at me. And I was like, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. And then I remembered my friend Olivia had told me, I don't know, weeks before that, she mentioned this article or something, and she said, I really want to hear about this idea of curiosity. Remember that? It's something about curiosity. I thought, well, maybe it's something about curiosity. And so I mentioned to Renee, I said, Renee, I don't know. And then Olivia mentioned curiosity. And Renee said, well, I got a word too. It's called intention. That'll be something good to talk about. And so I thought, all right, well, we got these two words. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just sit down and write down some words and see what happens, right? So that's what I did. I sat down and I took my journal out and I started writing down words. And look, all the words on this side, I wrote down like 48 words. And I showed them to Renee, and she said, well, that's enough for the whole year, right? That's enough words for the whole year. And I told her, I said, well, why don't you put a check mark next to the ones or something, the ones that seem appealing to you, And so she did. There's about 8 of them on here or something, and she put little check marks next to them. And I looked at that, and I was like, all right, well, kind of that way. All right, so I started looking at these words, and I noticed that they kind of went in groups. Like that kind of went in groups. And so I started making notes about some of them that were similar, some of them were talking about the similar thing. And so that's how I came up with 5 topics. I came up with 5 topics. I'm calling them mini-series. They're really not a whole series of things, but this is the Paula Zadkar mini-series. And the first series is called The Power of Allow. And I came up with the power of allow, the power of being, the power of action, and the last one called overcoming. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I do have the first quarter kind of planned right there. And as I was putting this message together, I wanted to tell that story, and I was surprised myself as I was typing it out in my notes that it's a perfect illustration of exactly what I'm talking about here, the power of allow. Because one of the qualities of allow is the sense of ease which creation comes from. When things come with ease, that's when we're allowing things to happen rather than try to make it happen. Rather try to find a book on the shelf or to find something to talk about and try to make it happen and be afraid of that. And I called Becky and I said, I don't know when those cards are coming, but we'll get them done. But here I have this great way to start the year off. But I don't want to start with that. Because what I came to understand as I sat with this idea is that there's some foundational ideas for allowing. This idea of allowing and getting to ease and grace, we start way before then. So we're going to backtrack a little bit. And I want to give you 2 ideas today that I think are the foundation that allows us to allow in our life rather than try to make it happen. Is that too cold? Okay. Can you turn it up 1 degree? Please, Renee. Renee will take care of it. Thank you. I see you going like this. I was hot. So, sorry. So here it is. Here's a foundational idea about our ability and our success in allowing, and it's this. We can't change everything. We have absolutely no control over life events, and anything can happen at any time to anyone. Home. So let's make that more personal. I'll make it more personal. I can't change everything. I have absolutely no control over life circumstances. And anything can happen to me at any time. That's the truth. We have some powerful examples of that just this week. Those 176 people that got on that plane in Tehran didn't know that that would be their last ride. They had no idea. They had no control over that situation, that life experience, right? The people, the animals, the livelihoods, the dreams that are being burned in Australia, those people have absolutely no control over that situation in their life right now. None. None. Whose house it picks, where it went, no control over that at all. And in fact, a co-worker of Renee's, who has a young boy who's in first grade, his name is Noah. He was out in the playground, and this little girl dared him to jump off of a piece of playground equipment. He had to do it. He's the cutest thing ever. I'm sure she was cute too and just gave him the eyes, and he was like, I'm doing it. I'm going to do that drop and roll thing. I'm just making that part up. If you ever saw this Noah, he could carry on a conversation with anybody in here and tell you something you didn't know. He broke both bones in his arm. Clean break. Clean break. I'm sure his mother would have liked to control that situation, but she had absolutely no control over it. None. Over that life situation. You've heard this from me before. I had knee surgery on October 15th, and unbeknownst to me that this was going to happen and to the doctors, I had contact dermatitis from the bandage. And for more than 2 weeks, I could not move my knee. I could not participate in physical therapy. That wasn't my fault. There was no control over that life experience, over that life event. None. None. It was an unknown. It was unknown. You think we would figure this out, right? When life happens this way, we might notice that we don't have control over those events, over life events. And at the same time, it's humbling and freeing, really. Because if we can learn to accept that that's the truth, we can be more at ease. We don't have to be all hyped up about it. We don't have to be so emotional about it. Rather than to feel immobilized by fear that we don't have control, though, we can use that truth to live a better life. We can use that truth to live more fully, more peacefully, and more gracefully. I believe we can do that by accepting that. By accepting that. So I was reading. So there are things we cannot change. In other words, there are things that we cannot change. And this is a great book. Maybe you'll be hearing some things out of this as I go through these series. It's called The 5 Things We Cannot Change by David Richo. And let me read you this. There are 5 unavoidable givens, 5 immutable facts that come to visit all of us many times over. And listen to these. This isn't brand new stuff, but listen up. Everything changes and ends. Things do not always go according to plan. Life is not always fair. Pain is a part of life, and people are not loving and loyal all of the time. Now, this isn't news to you, is it? You've had these experiences before. You've had experiences. You know things change and end. You know that's the truth. Things have changed and ended in your life multiple times. Multiple times. Things do not always go according to plan. Well, yeah. Yeah. Probably just today that happened, right? Probably just today. And sometimes, like I said, I can't get those 176 people out of my mind. It did not go according to plan. Life is not always fair. Now, I talked about this. Life, isn't meant to be fair, but in other words, it's difficult when you're treated unfairly. And you've been treated unfairly. I bet you have. Maybe as a woman, maybe as a student, maybe as a partner. You've been treated unfairly by somebody in your life. Maybe it was somebody really close to you. I know you have. I have too. And it hurts. It's going to happen. Pain is a part of life. That's the truth too. It can be physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, psychological pain. It's a part of life. You know, my quote for that is, we don't have problems, we have a life. And pain is a part of that life. All of us. Whoever gets through this to their deathbed without pain, I don't know who that might be. People are not loving and loyal all the time. Boy, we learn that, don't we? We learn that. Because you know what? People aren't perfect. People are not perfect. We need to get over that idea that just because we love them enough, that they'll be loyal and love us back. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. Those are the things we cannot change. And like I said, it's not really news. Now, another one of my authors that I pulled off the shelf when I was thinking about this is Michael Singer, called The Surrender Experiment. He puts it very succinctly. Listen to this. Life rarely unfolds exactly as we want it to, and if we stop and think about it, that makes perfect sense. The scope of life is universal, and the fact that we are not actually in control of life events should be self-evident. The fact that we're not in control should be self-evident. We've had the experiences of it. But to get to the place of allowing, we really need to get this. Like, we really need to get this. Not just intellectually, but we need to make it like actually and intimately, like in our life, we need to get it. We don't need to look at some great meme on Facebook and scroll right by and go, oh my God, that's a good one. You know, and then let it go. No, not that. We need to really get it. We really need to know that this is the truth. In our life now, it's the truth. You hear me? That's what I'm talking about. No matter how much you want to control your life, no matter how much the effort you put into it, and even when you do everything right, things still can go wrong. Right? You know that. So I'm going to share with you my story about that now. All right, you know the knee. Maybe you're tired of hearing about the knee, but you're going to hear about it a little bit more. So, get it out of my system. Here you go. So you know, during those first weeks, I wasn't able to do physical therapy because of all that mess, and it looked terrible, and it was ballooned up in blisters. And you know what I learned? And I learned this from Val, Mel, because she told me about your little stint in the hospital and how you got an infection. And it came at the perfect time. That story came at the perfect time for me, because here I was with this massive red, blistery, open blisters, 1 inch from a brand new incision. And you know what? I didn't get an infection. That was incredible. That was amazing that I didn't get an infection from that. Amazing. It's amazing that I've been able to do physical therapy and not be able to bend my knee very far. You know, I can stand on it like this, you know, I can do this. That's pretty amazing to me. I've been working and getting stronger. I can walk pretty well, but guess what? I can't bend my knee very much. And when I went to see my surgeon this week, he said, yeah, I can understand why you can't bend your knee very much. Because those first 2 or 3 weeks when it's critical that you have really good physical therapy, you have none. Because it might have got infected. That your physical therapist was smart enough to know not to push you too far so you'd be going backwards. So, I don't like this. But what has to happen is I have to go back in the hospital. And this Tuesday, I will be there, and I will be under general anesthesia. And in order to break up the scar tissue in my knee, they're going to bend my knee. They're going to bend my knee like I can't bend my knee. And they're going to put me under because it's going to be extremely painful. And as a result, I'll go through physical therapy again, and I'll be able to bend my knee and to do the things I want to do. Now, for a long time during the 8 weeks that I didn't make any progress, I was fighting it. I was crying. I was depressed. I wanted to know what I was doing wrong. I was fighting it. I didn't understand. I knew it was my fault, even though everybody around me was telling me it wasn't. right? And I was fighting it. Which brings me to the next point about allowing that we have to get to, and that is this. Point number 2. The universe, life itself, survives and thrives with no input from us. The universe, life itself, thrives and survives with no input from us. You hear that? The universe is intelligent beyond anything that we could direct it toward. Are you hearing me? The universe, in its infinite wisdom in my body, allowed me not to get an infection. And at the same time, did exactly what the intelligence in my body would do, which was to create scar tissue. It's exactly what would happen. So why am I fighting it? Why do we fight the natural flow of the universe in action? That's what we do, though. That's what we do. We want to fight it. We want to fight it instead of accept it. When it comes to our life, we believe, like I did during that time, if I could just do it well enough, if I could just do my willpower and if I could just get on it enough, I could break through. I could do it. But it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. That's not the way the universe was lining up for me in this situation. And boy, that was a struggle for me. Because I was fighting it. I didn't want it. What's it feel like to lose? What's it feel like to not get the result you want? Even though you did everything right, the best you could? There's a universal intelligence happening beyond my will and my determination. There is. And you know what the picture I got of that? It's like when you run into a wall, right? And then you back up a couple steps, or maybe more than a couple steps, and you get up a little speed and you run into that wall again. And you keep doing it. And the universe is saying, man, that looks like it hurts. Right? Because we're running into it. The universe is infinitely more intelligent than we are. There's an intelligence in the universe that way. But we ignore it. And we see that, and we have that struggle, and then we see that as a sign to dig in more, to hold on tighter. We don't see it as a sign to loosen up. We don't see it as a sign to reconsider. How about that? How about just take a step back? That's what I had to do. Golly, it was hard. Because the result wasn't what I wanted. But that's the kind of attitude we have. We're like, my way or the highway. This isn't supposed to happen to me. I did everything right. You know, what's wrong? This isn't my fault. It's just not fair. Why does it have to be so hard? Indeed, why does it have to be so hard? Why does it have to be so hard? Because we resist it. We resist it. We don't realize that what the universe really wants us to do is flow with it. Oh my God, the universe just wants us to flow with it. That's what the universe wants. The universe says, hey, keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes wide open. Soften your heart a little bit. Soften your heart. And focus your mind on possibilities. That's what the universe wants us to know. That no matter what, it's got our back. And until the pulse stops in your body, the universe has our back. Call it God, call it spirit, call it universe of mind, call it love, call it whatever you want to call it. That intelligence that wants us to know only love, that wants us to infuse us with only love, that wants us to go with the flow and stop fighting it. God, that's what it wants. God wants to do that. That's the supportive intelligence that has only that one desire in me, that wants to comfort me, that wants to support me, that wants to know that there's something greater in this world than what's going on in the physical. And that's really the message here, that if we want to practice allowing, we've got to do these two things. We've got to do these two things. We've got to remember, I can't change everything. I have absolutely no control over the life events that happen around me, and anything can happen to me at any time. That's the truth. That's a foundational truth. Even if I do everything right. And number 2, the universe, life itself, thrives and survives with no input from you. You know what? How much input does a pregnant mother have on the development of their fetus? How much conscious effort does that mother make? Well, today we're going to make a thumb. You know, it doesn't happen. Today your heart's going to beat. Like, today this is going to... No! The intelligence that is God, that is Holy Spirit, creates that. The mother is the carrier, and yes, she nourishes that baby. She nourishes that fetus. But she doesn't make it grow any more than you make the hair on your head grow. Or that you breathe all night long. Last night you breathed all night long. You had no conscious effort to do that. None. None. The universe survives and thrives with no input from us. None. And its one desire, really, is to show me love. Is to show me that I am love. And to let me ride that wave. So, week 1 of allowing. You didn't hear too much about allowing because this is the foundation, I think, from which we can convince ourselves by trusting in that universe, by admitting what we have no control over. That sets the stage for then how we can allow and how we can practice allowing in our lives. So stay tuned for part 2 next week, yes? So let's take this moment to go into meditation. To spend a few moments in the stillness, to take a deep breath and to maybe practice aloud. To accept this idea, these 2 ideas, that the universe, that God is infinitely intelligent and directs my life. That I have no control over life events. That anything can happen to me at any time. And know that this is not cause for fear or hopelessness, but a cause for humility and freedom to accept the love that is. So breathe in and breathe out for these moments in meditation. So my prayer is this. Help me trust you. Help me trust. Help me trust the supreme intelligence that you are. Help me to trust the life that flows through my body now. Help me to trust that there is a greater pulse in the universe that wants nothing more and nothing less than for me to know love. Help me trust in that. Help me know that I'm never alone. That when I reach for comfort, I reach deep inside myself and know you there. With great gratitude, I pray.